Bitcoin currently looks incredibly bullish. I've done so far 3 analyses on this channel looking at historical price movements of Bitcoin, and all 3 of those analyses point to continued rising prices in Bitcoin. So currently the price of Bitcoin is above the 7-day moving average. So in yellow here we see the moving average, 7-day moving average. In white we see the price of Bitcoin. And so we're currently above the moving average. And why does that matter? Because historically speaking, the 7-day moving average was the best moving average to predict future price movements. I've got a separate video on this, but just look at the results over here. If we look at the short-term moving averages all the way from 2-day to 14-day, 7-day was the best. We would have returned way more than just by buying and holding. So whenever the price is really above the moving average, we can predict prices to likely continue to rise. The second great point is positive momentum. Bitcoin tends to continue to rise when it used to rise. So look at this chart. This is another result of one of my analyses. On the x-axis you see the time frame all the way from 1 day on the left to 2 years on the very right, and on the y-axis you see a probability. This chart, for example, tells you that if Bitcoin was rising in the past year, then it has a likelihood of rising in the next year of around 70%. This is this data point here in the middle. When you look at, for example, the 5-month period, so something between here the 90 and 180 days, you also see almost an 80% likelihood of continued price rises when in the previous 5-month prices were rising. So as we all know, Bitcoin was rising for quite a while now. So depending on your time horizon, you might pick either one. You might say, okay, it's probably gonna rise in the next 5 months, but if you have a bit of a longer time horizon, in the last 2 years Bitcoin was also rising, and so if you are willing to hold Bitcoin for 2 years, you are likely going to be in the positive, at least if history is any indication. The third very interesting point is our current distance to the all-time high. So if we look at currently the price, we are at 56,000 roundabout, and we have dropped approximately 9%. This is incredibly positive. Why? I have made an analysis that checks the 1-year return in relationship to how much we have fallen from the all-time high. And this is the result. If you buy at the all-time high, which is here the 0% bar, you would have gotten on average 1,200% return in the next year. If you buy somewhere between the all-time high and a maximum of a 10% drop, you would have returned the most, so almost 1,600%. If you fall further than that and your time horizon is 1 year, your expected return actually drops. And that's expected because Bitcoin moves with momentum. If momentum is lost and if we have fallen more than 10%, then we are likely to gain less. So if you look at the historical Bitcoin data in different ways, moving average, momentum, difference to the all-time high, we can say that all 3 of those points are currently pointing to an incredibly bullish future for Bitcoin. And your time horizon doesn't really matter. Both short-term as well as long-term, Bitcoin seems to currently be the place to be. So if you are inclined to sell, I would advise hold on. If you don't have any Bitcoin at all right now, now might be the time to enter the market. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. See you next time. Bye.